All right, we're on. Here we go. Alex Shackell, how you doing?
Good. Yep. Back home. So
Back home after the Paris Olympics. Wow, crazy, hey?
it was a crazy experience. Being gone for what was it, 5 weeks, and finally being back here, just being able to settle in before I go back to school. So
That's the crazy part. You're at the Paris Olympics, and now you're going back to school to finish high school your senior year, right?
yep, senior year. It started on Monday, but I'm going in a week late just so I can take a week to relax and enjoy.
Oh, hang on. You guys started back already?
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm not there. My school starts really early. I'm not really sure why, but
Wow. Wow. Did you have to ask permission to come back a week late?
uh, I mean, I emailed my teachers and they seemed fine with it, but I'm pretty sure like our athletic director and my
Mm,
principal was totally fine with it.
yeah. Yeah. That's wild. Well, congratulations on your results. You got to be pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm in overall. I mean, they're obviously coming home with 2 medals is like
Mhm.
crazy, and the goal going there was to come back with at least one. So getting two is
Yeah.
crazy, and getting on that medley relay was a surprise to me. And I found out like right after my tuner fly final that I was going to be on the relay. So um, coming from that disappointment in the final, and then being able to regroup and prepare for another relay was, I think that was good for me just to kind of forget about my last race.
Now you finished sixth in the 200 fly. You saying that was a disappointment for you?
Yeah, that I mean, I know I'm a lot better than the time that I went in that final. I've
Mm.
been faster than that time multiple, basically every single meet I've been to this year. So going a second and like a half faster in the semi was, it's
Mm.
not usual for me to add that much in finals. So,
Yeah.
um, but I mean, it was obviously a different environment, and just being at the Olympics and the Olympic final is something, is a good experience, and taking that going for 4 years is, I think it's, no matter the time I went, it's still like a valuable lesson.
Yeah. I want to kind of analyze all of that and talk to you about the just the mental experience of that too, like emotionally going through that and having to figure out how to swim fast in an environment like that. I think it's a great lesson for all kids to hear, like performance at the highest level, and you're there at such a young age. But I kind of want to go back to your first experience with that, and before we get to Paris, and just talk about maybe your first Olympic trials experience at 14 years old. When you swimming the 100 fly and swimming at 14 years old at Olympic trials. What was that first experience like for you back then?
At the time, I mean, I made the my first trials cut. That was in 2021, like a month before Olympic trials, before wave one. And for me at that time, it was just for the experience. I obviously wasn't going to make the team, and I wasn't going to make any junior team. So for me, I was just trying to get it all in and see what it would be like in 3 years. But
Mm,
obviously, it was a lot different. It was in a football stadium this year, so and there was 22,000 fans. So coming from wave one, I'm not sure it was like the same experience. And obviously, I'm 17 now, and I was 14 then. So 3 years can make a big difference. And just going through high school, I mean, I was in eighth grade when I was going to that trials, and now I'm going to my senior year. So
mm,
definitely, I've grown up a lot, but I've also like learned like the lessons of hard work, and moving up into a different group. Now I'm with Chris Plum, and I'm still with my old coach, Chris Foff, but just learning to take the pressure from those meets and not let it like get in your head, or like not letting the idea that you have to impress people or
mm,
do it for people. Like I'm doing it for myself and for my family and for my team, but also like I am motivated by the fact that I like putting up impressive times. I like doing impressive things. Like I like trying to keep things to myself, but I also like the attention of like, wow, that was really good. Like, she has a future, or like, we can put our trust in her and for USA swimming.
That's interesting. So you would say that in terms of your preparation, you're fairly introverted, but when it comes to your performance, you might be extroverted. Like you like that attention, you like people watching you, like people talking about you, but internally you like to just get the job done quietly. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly how I describe it. I mean, even my coach, when we were walking out, like, it was a day of my, I think, tuner fly final, and he just told me, like, don't let the crowd get to your head. But I was like, no, like, I like the crowd. Like, this is good. This helps me. And
Mm.
like, this is so much fun for me. And I don't, some people view it as pressure, or like they get scared from like so many people watching, like 22,000 people watching, and more on TV. But that was helping me more. And that's why I think I did so good at that meet.
Wow. And I guess the lead up to that, like the trials as well, is you have this expectation now because of swimming for the US last year in 23 and being at the World Championships and competing for America. But you kind of walked into trials with the expectation that there's a very good chance you could make this team. How did that pressure manifest for you? How did that work its way into the performance that you wanted or needed? You know what I mean by, like, it can work both ways. It can be a negative, it could be a positive, but you certainly had the expectation that you could make this team, right?
Yes. From once I made the team last year in the tuner free, that's when I like started to think like, okay, I actually have a shot at making the team next year. And so honestly, like, this whole year was like the most stressful year of my life. Like, it's like every single day you wake up and like, well, at least for me, that was on my mind. Like, trials, like, I want to be an Olympian. I don't want to wait 4 more years. And like, something for me, I wanted to be an Olympian in high school. Like, I want to go back. Um, being a senior, being an Olympian. That was one of my goals for a long time since I was 8. Like, I always thought of 17 as being the perfect year, and then 21 being I'll be in LA. So um, just, I don't know, just not letting it get to my head, because obviously it is a lot of pressure, but one day at a time is what my coaches always told me. And taking the good practices I had, um, and building it. Like, I had some of the best butterfly practices of my life this year. And
Mm.
Um, I mean, from last year when I didn't make the team in tuner fly when I thought I was, um, my coach was like, "That's on me." Well, not on me, but on him. He told me that that was his fault, and I thought that was crazy for him to say that, because I was a swimmer. But he took a lot of ownership in that,
Mm.
and we really ramped up my butterfly practices this year, and we were doing ridiculous yardage of butterfly long course. I mean, we did 8 200s long course. We've done 20 100s. We've done 14 150s. And this is all butterfly. I know it doesn't really align with your sprint revolution, but that's what works for me. And we realized that the longer butterfly I do, and it doesn't have to be all fast. Like, if I'm just doing butterfly for a longer period of time, that's how I gain my strength and my confidence in my fly. Um, I mean, for example, there was this one practice, and it was some crazy set. It was long course, and it was the 3 100s, and then like 2 150s, and the 200 fly. And it was 3 rounds, and I was 214 on every single one of the tuner flies. And that's when I was like, okay, if I can do this in practice, then I can go like 206 in a meet. And so that's what I brought into trials, and taking those butterfly practices. I was like, there's no way I'm not dropping time going into this meet. And coming from the OTC, doing 200s broken in a suit and like going good times, that would set me up, knowing I could be successful at trials and knowing I could make the team. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that I was going to make in the team in the tuner fly. Like, I don't know why. I just had this feeling that it was going to be in the tuner fly. I was a little more nervous about my tuner free because I wasn't sure my freestyle had a little rough year this year, but I mean, every single meet of doing butterfly and doing the tuner fly, every single meet is what gave me my confidence. And I just had to get through the tuner free so I could feel good about my tuner fly, and then it ended up working out. So,
Well, one of the key things you said there is a couple of things is you said what works for me, right? Like you've got to do what works for you. And look, you're 17, you don't feel a lot of pain just yet. You know, maybe when you're 24, 25, those 200 fly sets might be a little bit different, but you know, at a young age you can handle a lot of work, and that's a good thing. But you're also you also said strength and confidence, right? Like those sets gave you strength and confidence, and that's really what we're looking for in any set. You know, you want to feel strong, you want it to give you confidence, so that when you stand up behind the blocks, you know for a fact you've worked as hard as you possibly can, you've done the right stuff, you've done stuff that works for you, that makes you feel confident. And that's all we want in training. Look, it doesn't, we all come from different programs. It doesn't matter if you're sprint revolution or if you're in, you know, a distance oriented, you know, team. That it comes down to the belief that you have in the work, the trust you have in your coach, the quality of the work that you've done. I mean, the work you did was high quality work. It doesn't matter what it is. So you want confidence standing behind the blocks, and that's clearly what you had. You know, you were a confident young woman when you're at trials. If you're 17 and you're up against the best athletes in America, and you look across the pool and you don't have confidence, there's no chance you're making that team. So it's like you've got to do the work to get that position. And that's probably my next question there, is like going from a young girl who looks up to some of these stars on the team, right? Let's take a Katie Ledecky, for instance. You've grown up watching Katie, and now all of a sudden you're teammates with her, you're sitting there having lunch with her, you're doing workouts with her, you're getting your nails done with her, whatever it is. You know, it's like all of a sudden you're teammates. So what's the difference between seeing someone like Katie on TV and then actually becoming teammates with her?
it was crazy. I've been watching Katie, like you said, for my whole life. I mean, I remember watching her win multiple gold medals in Rio, and I was sitting on my couch um, coming back from my neighborhood pool party, and then I think from Rio, that's when I realized, like, man, I really want to be her teammate. I want to be on the same team as Kayla Ledecky. But at
How
the
old were you then in Rio? We'll say
I don't know. It was probably around 8, I think.
8 years old. You're having dreams and visions of being teammates with Katie Ledecky at 8 years old. That's pretty cool.
I know that's 8 years old is when I got a whiteboard and I wrote down the countdown to Tokyo, and it was like 1,000 days, and I did it. I marked it off every day,
Hmm.
um, and that was just Tokyo. Like, I wasn't going to Tokyo, but I was so in love with the Olympics and the idea of the Olympics and the competition that it brought, and just people representing their country. I was like, that's my dream. That's what I want to do. Like, people at 8 years old are like playing with Barbies and like doing little kid stuff. But that I was like, with my dad being an Olympian, I was kind of brought up with already knowing some background about the Olympics, and then I got my first Olympic flag and I hung it in my room at 8 years old.
Mm.
And every day I loved swimming. Um, I know my brothers don't have the same story as me. They didn't always like swimming, but I've always been obsessed with it, and maybe a little too much. People tell me sometimes that like I talk about it too much, or like I focus on it too much. But now going to the Olympics is kind of like, look at like, look what I did. Like,
Mm.
maybe obsession's a good thing at times. Like, what works for you might not work for me, and for me, I need the obsession. I need to love it as much as I do to be good at it and keep wanting to do it for at least 5 more years. So
Mm. Where's your medals? Where do
they're
you
in my
keep them?
other room. I can go get them if you
Yeah, go get them. Let's press pause on this for a second.
want.
I want
I'll
to.
go.
I gotta get. Yeah, let's get the medals. Let's see if we can get a pause. All right, we're back. Here we go. Ah, nice. Hang on, I'm gonna go full screen on these ones. Look at that.
Wait, shoot, there we go.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty healthy obsession right there for a
Yeah,
17-year-old.
the obsession's pretty good. Yeah,
Wow, that is
yeah,
so cool. Eh?
yeah.
Dang, that's beautiful. All right, well let's talk about this then. So let's go into Paris. I mean, you got through the trials and you qualified for this. Actually, one more thing on the trials I want to say. Your brother actually qualified first
Yeah.
American male swimmer in the pool to qualify on day one. He wins the 400 freestyle in a bit of an upset for sure. Like I don't think not many people picked him to win, and certainly swim the time that he did, which was world class. So I guess you're sitting in the stands watching this. What's going on in your mind as you're watching your brother try to qualify for the Olympics?
Well, actually, it was right after my 100 fly semifinal.
Mm,
Um, and I just put up like I broke 57 for the first time, and I was over the moon. I was so happy. But then I was walking down like the long stairs you have to come from after your race, and I saw that like the final, like the walkouts were about to happen. I'm like,
mm,
oh my gosh, he's about to race, and it's the final. So
mm,
I just run. Oh, I warmed down because I wasn't done with my meet yet, but and then I ran over to the pool, the competition pool in the spectator area for the athletes, and they were on. I think they had a 200 left by the time I got over there, and he was in the lead, and I'm like, what is going on? Like this kid is beating all these like other Olympians and people he's been watching for a
mm.
long time. And then the last 50, I saw he was still ahead, and once, like he said, once he flips to the last 50 and he's ahead, he's gonna win. Like that's how it's gonna happen. That's how it goes.
Mm.
Um, and he did winning, and his crazy celebration, and I was crying, and I was like, I didn't even know what was happening. I was shaking, and like I was like, oh my gosh, like my brother's an Olympian.
Mm.
But then letting it digest, and like a few hours later, I was like, okay, now it's my turn. Like he's made it, now I have to make it. Um,
Was
and
that helpful, or was that harder then?
I think it was helpful. Like there was like no matter what was going to happen, like I was so happy for him, and seeing how he's trained all this year and like what he went through like this year of going to college and then not being his best and having to come back like in December, like a few months out from trials, must have been
Mm.
really stressful, wondering if he was going to get back to where he was when he was at Carmel. Um, but he had crazy training this year, and I mean, I saw him at OTC like a few weeks before trials, and that's when I knew he was going to make the team. I just had a feeling, and I was right, but I thought I was going to be in the 200, not the 400, so that was why I was so shocked.
Yeah, crazy performance. I was shocked at that one, but I was just I love the celebration too, like the way he got out of the pool and celebrated that thing. It was like, man, that's how you want it to feel, you know. Like you just felt so genuine, so real, of like these raw emotions coming out and just feeling powerful. It's almost like you see this performance in your dreams, but then to actually go out and do it, and then oh man, it was such a cool win and cool performance, the way he celebrated that. But in terms of your parents, those that don't know, I've said this a couple of times on the podcast, so people who listen to me regularly know that I was teammates with your parents in college. I lived with your dad. We were roommates. First person I ever lived with in America was your dad, Nick, and your mom, Allie, was on the team as well. So we were teammates. So you come from this swimming background. Where do you get your talent, mom or dad? Mom for sure, right?
That would break my dad's heart. It's I think it's a mix of both because my mom was a butterflyer and
Yeah.
my dad was a freestyler. So,
Hmm.
and I can do a little bit of I'm thank gosh I'm more of the sprint side. But I can do a good 200. So,
So
um,
how did they raise you then? Like, I have kids and I didn't necessarily um want them to be swimmers, or ask them to be swimmers, but like you guys ended up becoming swimmers in this swimming family. How did it evolve for you as a family?
I think it was very natural. My we started with summer league and with our like neighborhood, which that was super fun for us. And then just like from there, continuing to learn how to do all four strokes and do the tiny little races that the little kids would do, and then joining a club team But I mean, as long as we liked it, like it, they weren't forcing it on us or anything. Like it was always our choice. Aaron played like 8 different sports, and there was a time for like 2 years where he was more into basketball than he was into swimming. Like he would miss a lot of practices and do basketball instead.
Mm.
But for me, it was always swimming. Like I did soccer, cross country, track, um, basketball, volleyball. Like I did tons of sports. I did tennis. Um, so they definitely gave us options. Like it wasn't like you have to do swimming. Um,
Mm.
it was our choice, and it just ended up working out. All of us liking swimming, and then the move to Carmel just changed it all and made it like confirmed our choice was like the right choice.
Yeah, it's interesting because parents listening to this, and everybody wants to know the secret, right? Like everyone wants to raise an Olympian. Everyone wants their kids to become an Olympian, and there are a lot of people who put their kids in swimming who go to these swim meets every week, and they're in, they hope for that for their kids, so to have two in the one family, you would think to yourself, oh, that's just natural because their parents swam or whatever. But it seems like a lot of it was internal from you guys. They gave you a range of options and said you guys can do whatever you want and play all these different sports and become athletic and try different teams. But it seems like you guys are the ones that made the decision to say, no, I like swimming the best. I want to really dig into this. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was 100% our choice. Nothing was forced on us, or it was always our choice.
Mm. So who is the better swimmer? Who's the better athlete, you or your brother?
um, I would say it's different. I'm better at like running and more of like that area of
Mm,
sport, but he's more
mm,
of like tennis, golf.
mm.
Um, I'm not sure how you would describe this too, but we're very different. I'm definitely an extrovert. He's more introverted, so we're like the complete opposite.
Who trains harder?
Oh, me? No, we train the same. We
How do
both.
you know? Like, how do you know what each other's doing? Do you keep an eye on each other, or you train separately?
Um, we're in the same group, and we, for the most part, do the same practices. Except if there is like a distance group option for like threshold freestyle, or like even on our sprint days, there's a distance group, and he'll be on the longer option, and I'm always on the short option.
Mm, right.
But I can see what's going on, or if we're are doing the same set, or like on Saturdays we do a team set, and I can like see what's going on. So
Other than in the pool, the work that you do is the work that you do, right? It's a grind for everybody who's in the pool and who's trying to become an Olympian and get the work done necessary in order to become an Olympian. Give us some give us some tips on what you do outside the pool that separates you maybe from other people, or gives you the discipline you need to get the performance you need in the pool. So what are some of the things outside the pool maybe that you and your brother do at home, or maybe you do in the gym, or whatever it is that kind of give you that separation, that discipline outside the water?
well, for me, one thing I've been doing, and I think I'm at year 7, year 6 of doing this, but I only have dessert or like sweets on the weekends.
Mm.
Um, and especially this year, I started doing only on Sunday. Um,
What's
and
your favorite?
dessert,
Yeah.
my mom's cookies. They're
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
they're really good. Um, but that's like one thing I've been doing, and I've noticed it helps me and it makes me more tone, and I just feel better overall.
Mm-hmm.
For Aaron, he has desserts whenever he wants. I think that works for him. He's not too harsh on it like I am, but um, he is something I've noticed. He's very good at recovery. He always does Normatec, and he's always like actively taking care of his body.
Mm.
And I get massages all the time, and
Mm.
I see a chiropractor. So whether it's massage or um, like adjusting my body,
Mm.
my muscles after practice, I usually do either a massage or chiropractor. I do one of them every week. So
Right. Can you just give us a brief outline of your training schedule for the week? What does it look like?
so overall, we have 10 practices a week. 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, and then Wednesday and Saturday is a single and nothing on Sunday. And do you want to know like what we do on each day, or do you?
Yeah, if you could, yeah, give us an overview.
Yeah. So Monday and Thursday are always threshold in the morning, and then we do buckets or pulleys. I don't know. It's called different things. Pulleys and kick at night. And then Tuesday and Friday is active rest. So it's um, like 6 rounds of 100 fast, of 50 easy, and it's like on short interval. So like you're constantly moving, but there is rest in between. And then again, we'll do like some sort of kick at night or drills and technique. And then Wednesday is always fast. It's like 25s and 50s, nothing over. Sometimes we'll do 100 or a few 75s, but it's mostly 25s and 50s. And then Saturday is also like, it can really be anything, but usually we're all together. So everyone in the group, there's not any split or divide in groups. Distance and sprint, we're all doing the same thing, and it's usually 50s and 100s long course fast. Saturday is always long course. And usually Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday morning is long course, no matter what year it is. So we do a lot of long course, and then, yeah, Sunday's off. So
nice. Awesome. That gives us a good idea. What was my next question there? I was going to say in relation to that, in terms of progressions and figuring out if you're swimming faster than you've ever swum, do you guys do test sets that you record?
we do a few test sets. We don't do them very often, but we do them at least once or twice a year throughout the year. Every year in the beginning of the season, around October, we'll do something called the X set, and it's 6 100s on 10 seconds rest. No, or is it 5? I don't know. But it's short course, and you go as fast as you can, and you try to get your total 600 time. And we all get really competitive in that, and usually the girls go next to each other with similar times than the guys do. And we track that. That's based on that will set us up for our threshold times throughout the year. We use the color charts, and so that's for our threshold. And then we'll do a 300 kick for time at some point in the year. We did that like 4 times this year, more than usual, but we did that long course. That's just to see like if our legs are getting stronger, if we're becoming better kickers,
right?
All like the stuff in the weight room that we do. So, but that's about it.
Awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. That's helpful to people. Let's go back to Paris and the build up to that. You go home for a little while and then you come into camp. Was the camp in Nashville?
It was in North Carolina. I was in Raleigh.
Oh, Raleigh. Okay. So you come into camp. When you first get there, what happens with the team? Do you guys break up into training groups and just kind of go out on your own and do your own thing?
It was actually pretty natural how it was split up. Basically, you either got into a group chat on text with people, or you just went to the pool, and there was different sets. There'd be Florida was always together because they have a huge group, and then UVA they had their own group, but like people would join in with them. So I was with UVA like 5 times, and then I'd also do some with Chris Plum and Aaron, just the 2 of us. But basically, whatever you needed, if you didn't have your coach there, they'd communicate with the coaches there and say, like, what practice are you doing? And I know the coaches always had meetings before practices, and they'd be discussing who was going to be in each group, and then they just tell you, so you didn't have to think about it too much. Like, there was a lot going on behind the scenes from the athletes that we didn't like notice.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
When did they start talking about Paris as a group, as a team, and kind of setting out expectations and goals? When did that first happen?
I think our first meeting was with Coach K, and that's what set up the rest of the meetings. We had a lot in Croatia, and we didn't have too many in Raleigh. Raleigh was just like, get your training in because we need to get back to work, and be ready for a good amount of training in Croatia, at least for me. And then near the end of Croatia was when we got more meetings, and then we got to Paris, and it was pretty much like game time. So.
Mm. How did they prepare you for Paris? Because I understand there was definitely some challenges from what I heard. The bus system wasn't great, the air conditioning system, the beds, I guess, weren't great. The food, I heard there were challenges there as well. So, how did they prepare you for being ready for those challenges in Paris?
They did warn us that the quality of what we were used to was not going to be matched when we were in the village. Like there's just no way around it. So just going with the expectation that you're gonna have to do what the best you can get for yourself is what you're gonna have to deal with, and whatever makes you swim fast, like you have to do that for yourself. And sometimes you kind of have to be selfish, and like if that's what you need, then you need to get it. You can't be scared to ask or feel like you don't deserve it. So there, I mean, obviously the food wasn't great, but we weren't for sure like what the food was going to be like, because we had a meeting and a lot of the captains spoke up about their experiences from other Olympics, and there was kind of a back and forth between good food and bad food. So that was kind of unknown. But for the bus rides and the walking, like there was a lot of walking in the village, which they prepared us for. We were counting our steps when we were in Croatia to try to get somewhere near of what it may be like. But overall, we just had to adapt to what we could. And obviously everyone and every athlete was in the same boat. So it's not like we were the only team going through it.
What about for you? Once you get to Paris, are the things that you look back on now, and I don't know if you've had time to kind of maybe think about these things, but is there anything that you would do differently if you were to walk back into that village again today and go through the whole process again?
Honestly, I haven't thought about it too much as of right now. For me, I think I overall did a pretty good job just managing how much I was on my feet. I really tried to restrict that. Like I went to the first 2 days of competition and then I was done. I was back at the village, and then I mean, luckily for the USA athletes, we got, if you were racing the next day or in between sessions, you were allowed to stay in a hotel that was
Mm,
like 4 minutes from the pool. So that was
mm,
super helpful for me. And then I had my parents help me get Chipotle some days just to make sure I was eating something that I would eat when I was in
mm.
trials or when I usually compete. So that kept it pretty normal for me. But I don't really, as of now, I wouldn't say anything that I would change. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard to know because I've only been to one Olympics, so I'm like, that's my only experience I have of an Olympics. So if
It
going to
sounds
a,
like you did a pretty good job. Like, it sounds like you had a good handle on it of all the challenges, and you worked around those pretty well.
yeah, I would say I would, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty proud of myself and how I handled it. I mean, I was pretty close to a best time, so I feel like I had to do something right to put that time up. But obviously it could have been better, but I'm still learning how to manage it all.
What about going through the rounds? What were your objectives? Basically going prelim, semi, final. Like, how did you approach each round? Let's say.
Comparing to trials, the goal was always to descend 1 to 3. Sometimes it worked out that way, sometimes it didn't, but the effort was always more. But sometimes the time was worse, which I'm still trying to figure that out. Because for me, when I try harder, I sometimes go slower, and when I don't try as hard, I go faster.
Right.
And that's what I saw at trials, especially in the prelims and semi, is when sometimes when I don't have to, when I know going into it, I don't have to give it my all. I tend to do better, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of weird. But I mean, prelims of the Olympics was, I, I was pretty happy. It was fine. That was just my first race. So, and I knew that all I had to do was beat like 3 people to make it back. So, not giving all my effort into that race when I had 2 more, when I at the time had 4 more. So, other races. And then semis was basically just get back to finals. And I could put a good amount of effort into that. I knew I had the relay the next morning. So that was a bit tricky trying to figure out what the plan was for that and how much energy I did want to use for that. But then finals was just try to medal. Obviously, I came a little short on that, but.
What was it like being in that ready room for the first time as an Olympic finalist? And there's only, 7 other women in there. It's like that's a pretty unique experience in and of itself, right? Like you're in that ready room and you realize, hey, I'm about to walk out in front of millions of people and perform. Like what was your mental process in that room?
Luckily I had Reagan with me, so it made it a little bit less like lonely. We were talking a lot, so that made the time go by faster in there, because you are in there for at least 15 minutes just sitting in there and waiting for your race.
Right.
But coming from trials, I feel like that helped me a lot. Already being in that situation pretty much before and doing the tuner fly 3 times and walking out to thousands of people. So I had that experience with me. So it definitely wasn't as like big of a jump from just going from like junior nationals or anything. So
How do you manifest the crowd? I mean, are you the type of person that is maybe looking for your parents or looking for Team USA, or are you just walking out, seeing the pool and hearing the crowd, but not really acknowledging them?
I definitely hear the crowd, and I like I'll get a good glance at the crowd, but I don't wave. I don't do any of that. I can have fun during and after the race, but I don't like I need to stay locked in when I'm
Mm.
walking out, and I usually just drink my water and get ready for my race.
So what's your race plan in the 200 fly? You're walking out, you're standing behind the blocks, you've got to now execute this race plan. What is kind of the perfect race plan for you if everything was to go exactly the way you wanted it to go?
If it would to go exactly to plan, something I've learned this year is I have a good amount of easy speed for my butterfly, so I don't try or I don't start pushing it until the last 55 meters of the tuner fly, so I can just float for like the whole race until the last 55, and that's where I start pushing it and kicking it in. But something for me is just I keep my eyes focused on a certain spot in the pool the whole race, and that helps it go by faster, and just focusing on my underwaters, because I feel like my legs don't hurt in that tuner fly. It's just my arms. So I'm trying to get my legs into it more. So yeah.
Where do you keep your rhythm? You said you don't really try, just let it float and keeping smooth. So are you focused on just keeping your hips moving? Are you focused on getting your hands out in front of your face? Are you focused on, getting your feet up at the back? Like where do you keep your focus to keep that flow?
Yeah, I have 3 things that I think about in the flow of my tuner fly. One is my hands in the front. They always touch right here. Well, at least I try to. It's like my thumbs are touching in the front. So that allows me to press my chest, and then that leads to number 2 is getting my hips up. Really, it allows the flow of the body, and then that gets my legs up and helps my kick. And then the last thing is just not using my arms too much in the beginning of the tuner fly. I feel like I used to do that a lot, and that's why I would get so tired at the end. Just trying too hard to pull water sometimes
Mm,
I just have to like allow it to happen and not think about it, and then it works out better.
right. Now you say about the 55-meter mark. So coming into that last wall and out of that last wall, at that stage, do you know where you are in the race? Can you see other girls around you?
Yes, I can. I usually have a sense of where I'm at the 100 turn, um, because I at the 50 it's pretty much even or whatever. But then at the 100, I can kind of see where everyone else is turning, and even if because I kind of go on my side
Mm,
for the underwaters, and I turn the opposite way, so I get a glance at both sides,
mm.
um, and then pretty much from there, just keeping my head down and not looking at other people. So yeah.
Right, and then when you make that shift into go, is there words that come into your head? Is there some sort of, affirmation or something? Like, how do you make that shift?
Well, I think it depends on the race, but for trials in both the Olympic final, it was basically like let's go, like it's time to go, and just reminding myself to press my chest and touch my thumbs together. That kind of distracts me from the pain, and like if I'm tired or anything, I just think about my cues, and then it makes the race go by a lot faster and makes it
Mm.
more of a enjoyable swim.
Where's the pain? What is the pain? Tell us the pain in the 200 fly. I've never swum a 2 fly, so tell me, what is this pain?
Is definitely different than like freestyle or backstroke for sure. Um, for example, if freestyle is more of like burning, like you can't feel your legs and you can't like everything hurts. But butterfly, especially for a tuner fly, is more of you can't like you have like for me, I have energy to keep going, but it's more of like my arms and my legs are really heavy, and so it just makes it difficult to like continuing to get a good amount of water in the flow, and then that's why you see like a lot of swimmers legs drop and their hips drop just because like it feels like a piano is on your back on the
Mm.
last that's what I would say, but
It's
it's not like
interesting.
burning or anything. It doesn't burn at all. Like the tuner free burns, like that is different from
Yeah, it burns, and then the 200 fly is just like someone sitting on your back. Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting, the different types of pain, hey? But, wow, we all experience pain either way. There's no way around it. It's either gonna burn you or you just crush you, so it's gonna happen, but, that's cool. I mean, look, you should be very proud of yourself finishing 6th in the Olympic final. I finished 6th in the Olympic final too, by the way, in 2004, so it's a good result, and, it's definitely something to build on for you as well, but then having those chances of those relay swims in the morning, that's pretty cool, and you definitely feel part of the team and feel like you did your job. What did they do for you? I saw there was some little special presentation maybe of getting the medals?
Yeah, that was super cool because actually in Croatia we were told that World Aquatics decided everyone, prelim swimmers and final swimmers, get to go on the podium at night.
Mm,
But then we found out the night of the relay podium for the 4 free, I think, that relay swimmers can't go on the podium. But I mean, prelim swimmer, they can't go on. So we're like, saying that sucks, like because we were all expecting that everyone could go on. So Mike, our photographer, and some of the coaches decided that
mm.
we could do our own little podium for the prelim swimmers, which was really cool because like if you win a medal, you obviously like you want to wear the podium outfit and you want to get photos. So that was something that was just like really well done for
Yeah.
USU.
Yeah, that's really cool. Nice job with that. Um, I was going to ask a couple of other questions because I'm interested in the other side of it. Things that we don't see. I mean, we know they're happening, but we don't see them because all we see is the performance. But there's definitely a lot of talk of the expectations of the whole US team. I mean, Phelps came out and said that he felt disappointed in the results. There was a lot of pressure on the men to win a gold medal at one stage, and then Bobby Fink comes out on the last day and wins it. Like, are you guys hearing or feeling that stuff as the meet's going on? How are you guys manifesting that as a team and dealing with it?
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I'm not sure about the other people, but I definitely saw it a lot, and I mean, we still came out on top, no matter if it was just by one gold.
Yeah.
But we should be proud of the way we did, and using it as momentum going to LA. And we have so many bright young swimmers coming up,
Yeah.
and we're just getting better. We're not getting worse. Like it could be the complete opposite. So I mean, half the people who are making these comments are not even at the Olympics. They're not swimming. They don't know what it's like. So sometimes you just have to ignore the haters out there and the comments and all the hate comments. Like we have to be proud of what we've done, and obviously like the circumstances weren't like what we wanted at times, but that's the other athletes as well. So
Did the coaches recommend, or did they suggest, or did they tell you to stay off social media in any way?
no, it was always our own choice. Like for me, I do better when I have social media. Some people do better without it, but I mean, I use the hate comments and that stuff as motivation for myself. So
Right. Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. Is there talk amongst the team of things that are going on, or is it just internal, like between you and your roommate? Who was your roommate, by the way?
I was rooming with Anna Popowski.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. Do you guys talk about that stuff of like what's going on outside of the the constructs of your team?
Anna and I did. We just talked about everything like every night, and um, we were kind of like sick of it by the end of it. Like we don't want to hear this anymore. So being able to end up being on top of the gold medal count was like kind of like
Yeah.
it was like a really good feeling, and it was satisfying to be like not like an in your face moment, but like we did this, and you can't talk about it anymore because no matter what, we did get the most gold medals.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And not only the most gold medals, you won the most medals overall as well. So it was like you topped all the counts that could be topped. But so yeah, there's that. The other thing I wanted to touch on is just this idea of superstars. You know, we talked about Katie Ledecky, and maybe there's others, Simone Manuel, and there's Ryan Murphy, and there's, I guess, as a young girl, you look up to these superstars, and you have an idea of who they are, and maybe you put them on a pedestal. But how as an athlete and how as a teammate do you realize they're just human like you, and they're just it's not so much that they're beatable, like I'm not saying that, but it's like you just make them human, like, oh, I'm equal, I'm one of them, I'm just as good as them in that sense, right? Like you have to do that, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. I think I learned that a lot last year. Is I was going into the meet being like, oh my gosh, like I'm with Kayla Decky, Bobby Fink, um, like Tori Husk, all and Reagan Smith, all these athletes that were like I was watching and like following on like on Instagram and social media for so long,
Mm,
and then like being on the same team. But luckily for this year, having the experience from last year, and like now I get to like be friends with them and not um, just being on the same team. Like I feel like there's a difference from teammates and then being like close friends and actually enjoying the experience. So and they're all like very inclusive, and Kayla Decky is like one of the nicest people I've ever met, and she's actually a lot of fun. Like obviously she's like serious on when she's competing and stuff, but behind the scenes like she's tons of fun and pretty chill. So
yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's, look, I was teammates with Ian Thorpe, who's one of the greatest athletes of all time, and you realize that they're just human. They have feelings and emotions, and they have their ups and downs. They're very gifted, they're very special, but they're just human like us. And once you realize that, it's much easier to be teammates with people like that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to cope as a teammate. You'd always just be like, oh my God, this is a superstar. But you realize they put the work in just like you, and you've earned it. One of the big questions, I guess, it's not really a big question, but there's definitely questions out there. Is like, okay, you're going into your senior year, and you're going into college next year. You've committed to Cal. Your brother was at Cal, and now he's transferred to Texas. Are you still going to Cal? Is that still on?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's changed right now.
Okay, good. Awesome. So you excited about college?
I am. It's I haven't really thought about it since like I don't know. I feel like it's still so far away, and I still have all of this year that I want to enjoy. Like this is a crazy senior year, especially coming back from the Olympics. So just trying to have fun, knowing like all the stress from last year is over, and I can enjoy it and have fun with my friends and do things I wasn't able to do last year. So.
How does college fit in for you now? Are you I mean, you've been to World Championships, you've been to Olympics, you got LA in 4 years. So is there a shift now into kind of, going back into thinking like, okay, I'm going to go back to short course swimming and have a great college career for a few years, or are you hell bent on just focused in on long course swimming and representing your country for the next 4 years? How does it all fit in for the next 4 years for you?
I mean, college swimming is obviously a big deal, but for me, winning a gold medal on my own has been my goal for like my whole life. Obviously, coming back with one in the relay is incredible, but I want to be an individual champion. So knowing I have to train long course for 4 more years is like top priority. Um, because yeah, I do want to win a gold medal on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like you've been locked in on that since the age of 8 anyway, so it doesn't seem like much is gonna change now, even though that you've won, a gold and silver there, but, yeah, there's more on the horizon. Um, let's just give a little bit more love to mom and dad because 'cause they're friends of mine, so let's finish with a little bit of love. Tell me what you love about each one of them.
Well, for being so like this was probably the most stressful year for them because they had obviously Aaron and I, and
Mm,
they knew we both wanted to make it. So, I mean, I couldn't be here without them. And my dad always, he works, and he's going back and forth between St. Louis every 2 weeks and staying there for a few nights and coming back here just so he can obviously make money and keep his job, but also so we can live in Carmel and train for Coach Plum and Chris
mm,
Foth and um, being able to have the teammates I train with. And I don't know anywhere else better to live in Carmel. Like this is
yeah,
like my the best place I've lived in. Then my mom, like we always come home after practice or after morning practice. Now that I don't have morning classes anymore, I have breakfast and dinner ready for me. And
mm,
being able to like she's a big part of my recovery, and but also she's so fun, and I'm sure you know that she's very extroverted, so I think that's where I get it from. And just having fun and not making swimming so strict and hardcore, but enjoying it and just fooling around. Like like our family gets along very well, but obviously we're like any other family. Like we're normal people, like you said. Like we do have arguments and stuff, but like that we still love each other. So, and we don't let any of the competition between our family get to us. Like I've heard other people say and ask questions about like if we get jealous of each other, but like there's none of that. Like you will see us complimenting and congratulating each other like no matter what. Like even my
mm.
brother Andrew, like I just have a feeling he's gonna be an Olympian too. I have so much like faith in my siblings and my parents. Like I love them so much.
Cool. Cool. Well, I tell you what, you definitely won the gene pool. Your mom was a stunning athlete, tall, lean, strong, beautiful. Your dad was very similar, except for beautiful. He was ugly, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Nick. All right, Nick was a big, strong, powerful British man, Olympian. Have you ever watched any of your parents' races?
um, I think I watched one of my mom's. I think it was like the 500 free or something, or the 400, and
Mm.
and then I think I watched I saw a race of my dad at NCAA's, and then
Is
a
that where he was coming off me? Maybe I was
it
swimming
might have
fly.
been it might have been I'll have to ask him. But I've also seen him do I think it was a race at the Olympics and one of the relays too. So
Yeah, no, your dad was a stud, and I came in as a freshman. Your dad's senior year, and man, his leadership was everything that I needed. He was the man, and love everything about your dad. And we won a national championship together. So hopefully you get a similar experience at Cal. You guys can win a national championship. You're definitely going to be on that LA team, no doubt in my mind. So, you got a big future ahead of you. So congrats on everything, getting there so young and so dedicated, so much to learn. That's really cool. And just good luck over the next few years. Okay.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for doing this finally.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's another part of great parenting there. Your parents wouldn't let you do this for a little while until after the Olympics. So that's great parenting.
Yep. I had to make it first. So
Yeah, exactly. I love it. All right. Thanks. See you later, Alex.
yep.
Bye.